Today on Country Pocket, I am lucky to have Haroula Rose on. Her new album is called Catch the Light, and the first song we just heard is Happenstance. It's a bit of a gut punch, but you pose a question in the interview. You pose a question in the song that I'm going to pose now in the interview. What kind of memories make a life?
It's a good question. And that's why I asked it, I think, in the song. I've been thinking about it a lot though this weekend because I had some time off, up in, like I mentioned, I was up in the woods in Michigan, and I was thinking about it and I thought it ends up being when you, for me, it feels like when you're fully present, whether that's when you're alone with yourself and you're okay and you're not hearing any like negative or critical voices about things, but also with friends or family, or even like songs or art that make you feel seen or understood. I think those are good memories. I feel like when I think back on, like, if the last minute of your life you flash back on things like per 10 memories per second, I think I would remember the most those times where I was in nature somewhere, experiencing it for a first time or a special time, or with people or with some art that really moved me. So I think, I guess that's part of my answer.
Definitely an artist's answer. I think this song sort of captures this complicated dynamic where you're both frustrated with someone and protective of them, even after losing them. The moment where you're talking about the people who were gossiping and are no longer gossiping now at the funeral, it feels like there's such a complicated dynamic, and I really appreciate you creating art that isn't just one note.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. I just feel like people are all complicated, as we know, and there's no one who's perfect or a saint. And I find there's this movie that I love so much that probably you've seen, called A River Runs Through It, and it's based on a novella by Norman MacLean. And there's just this amazing passage in there, about how the people you want to help, you don't really know how to. And when you, so like, you either don't know what part of yourself to give, or the part of yourself that you want to give to help is not wanted. And so I feel like that song is really about that sentiment of like not knowing what to do or how to help someone if they don't want to, or if they can't help themselves.
Yes, I've been through that experience. Luckily, the person did not wind up passing away, but I've been through that experience watching someone battle with a substance, and you know, I felt the complex feelings that you captured on that song. So thank you, I guess. Thank you
Oh,
for
thank
putting
you for,
something down in musical form that spoke to the life I've lived.
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, this is not a traditional interview. Um,
Yeah, I love it.
so we're going to move from facing loss to fearing loss. Time's Fool is just about as vulnerable a song as you can get. Um, is it possible to have enough time with the ones you love?
I don't think so. I've decided the answer is probably no. And that's another thing I've been pondering this week, because I had a really, like we were communicating, I had this big project that came to an end, and that is, it can be very all encompassing, the way it can be when you're, you know, doing an interview or performing, or how, whatever it is that you're doing is like all encompassing, and it brings you maybe closer to colleagues or strangers or friends you haven't even met yet. But then time with family and friends, I just think it may never actually seem like enough, because maybe there's always a longing to go deeper, and if you see people all the time, maybe that's harder to do. So it's funny to me, like sometimes it's not about the amount of time but like how you spend the time or how open people are willing to be. And I find it fascinating that maybe with our family and close friends, it might even be harder to reveal ourselves or be more open for some reason. That's just how human beings can be sometimes. Like it might be easier with a song or opening up to someone who you don't know as well. Like when you're sitting next to someone on an airplane and they share a lot with you, maybe that they wouldn't tell their own friends or family. I don't know. That's happened to me before. So um, I'm digressing, but really, I just think the answer is probably not. I don't know if there's enough time.
No, no, no. I love long answers. I love digressing. That's where you get to really understand and know a person, I guess. Um, how does the feeling in Times Fool sort of coexist with the feeling, the attitude of the nature of things, where change is a constant and inevitable and something you seem a lot calmer with?
Um, yes, I think I've come to some sort of peace about how the only constant is change. And that feels like it's taken me a long part of life to really accept. And it's not comfortable, but at least I've accepted that. But it is related because it's like the moment you might get used to someone or something in your life, that the nature of that or the way in which time has played out, those people might have grown apart or the person you love may not be around anymore or you may have lost touch, but it doesn't really take away from their effect on your life, like I that's another, quote from a book I love a lot about um, the effect on someone, on people around someone being incalculably diffusive. It's the ending paragraph of Middlemarch, where it's about this person who I think affected a lot of people, but maybe you don't remember that person on a plaque or in some major way. But I think we all have the capacity to do that, like a little ripple effect. So again, I'm very much digressing, but I think the answer was the difference between change and how something wanting something to stay the same. So I think I've accepted that maybe things don't stay the same, but the way that you felt at the time, if it was truthful, even if you're not in touch anymore, I think it still holds water in your life and in your identity now. Like, maybe someone's first true love when they were a teenager, they may not talk to that person anymore. They might not be around anymore. But when you think of that state of mind or that memory or that experience, then it's sort of it just is still alive. It's like a part of you still.
That's a nice balance. We're gonna play Times Fool, and you should probably leave. But you, audience, you should probably stay because we've got some good music and more interview with Haroula Rose coming right up.